What is up, Retro Maniacs? My name is Mike. His name's Joe. His name's EP. We're here to talk about cards. You know, every now and then you think about what could I have done differently? This week, we're going to go back to when we got back into the hobby around 2021. We're going to think about how we could have done things differently. So, Joe, get us started.
And before I start, shout out to our boy Bargain Boxer who suggested this as a topic, and he suggested it a while ago. It's taken us a little while to wrap our heads around because we generally do everything right, guys. I think we can agree
rush
on that.
perfection.
Yeah, you can't rush perfection. And trying to go back to something we did incorrectly, crazy. We did it.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's been tough. So joking aside, my number one is I wish I would have only graded what I was absolutely going to sell. I did so much grading of like PC cards when I first got in because that's what you did. You grade everything, right? You get a card, you look at it. Oh, it looks good enough. I'll send it off to be graded. The amount of money I wasted on grading PC cards is staggering, especially the cost of grading back then. So I really wish if I could turn back time in the immortal words of Cher, I would absolutely not grade so much unless I was going to sell it or I needed to authenticate it for some reason. So those would be the only reasons I would grade anything. And I don't grade anything, hardly anything now. So
I love that.
I remember at one time you were never going to grade your PSA again.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
No, that's a great idea. The 100% makes sense.
Yeah, it's smart. Smart thing to do.
Yep. And a lot of I was saying a lot of our viewers don't grade that often. You know, it's funny when folks comment, they're like, "Oh yeah, I don't grade cards. I, even rarely buy cards." So, I'm starting to get into that mentality. Just put it in a nice one touch.
If you would have found the Pro Mold one touches before you sent those in, you would have never done it.
That's fair. That's fair. 100%.
All right, EP. What would you go back and do differently?
Well, I mean, we're gonna stay on the grading train. I'd like the big thing for me. I would take a week off. Like the very second that we got back into it, I should have taken a week off of work, figured out what I should get graded, and then send it and get graded. Like I have Brady rookies, and I've so many cards that I probably should have sent in so much sooner than I did. And I feel like that was a missed opportunity for sure. That was a striking when the iron is hot. And I drug my feet and kind of like I wasn't sure about my grading, my ability to be able to see if a card should be graded. And I feel like not to toot my own horn, I've had a lot of fortune with grading, and I feel like I probably should have done that sooner. Should have bit the bullet and actually tried it a bit sooner. That's the one thing that I really wish I would have done more of.
Yeah, you did miss the boat a little bit on that, and I seem to remember two people trying to convince you to grade anything that was a Tom Brady rookie. But
it wasn't us, Mike, because I famously remember EP saying in a B show, or not a B show, extra innings with EP, that we tried to convince him not to grade Tom Brady rookie cards because that sounds exactly like something we would say. So, but yes. Joking aside again, yes, EP, you should have taken our advice, our actual advice, and graded those Tom Brady. Because again, we're finding very frequently we are never wrong. So if you would have just listened to us from very
stable geniuses.
I've never been wrong, and Joe's been coming in my shop since he was 12. So he picked up the trait too.
Yep,
so
exactly.
He's almost like my son over there.
Wow.
Never wanted.
Wow. I am famously the young one of the group. So that that age checks out.
Definitely. We broke EP.
Yep, EP had to mute
my son.
The camera.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll break up this. I think the first thing I should have done was find a better system for organization for what I was getting into to run stack sales back from the beginning. I've done it in bits and pieces, but let's be quite honest. I'm going to look right in the camera here. I have way too many cards now to be able to be organized. It's just not possible to be 100% organized. If I would have just done it as I got the stuff in, just even broke them into 50-cent football, dollar football, stuff like that, I would be in a much better place right now than I am. So that would be mine.
Organization is something that we talk about. I mean, I think you're the biggest culprit, EP.
Oh, I can't wait to go with this. I can't wait
but yeah, and now the worst thing is when you get to that moment where you're like, I can't do it now. Like I'm so far behind. I can't, there's no way.
Like a hoarder. There's nothing I can do now. I just need to keep piling this stuff.
I need to call hoarders to come in and organize for me because at this point, there's no way it's going to happen.
Wow. Absolutely.
No, like you can see this right here. Like this has been a thing for me. I like to think that when I take that week off, like I said, my week off to do to find out the cards that I want to grade, I'm also going to organize. Like I picture that in my head, like, yeah, you're going to organize, get organized too. Would never happen. It would be a total disaster. It'd be way worse than it is right now, probably. But
EP doesn't understand how time works. If he thinks he can take a week off and magically everything's going to be how many days do you think is in a week? I know your schedule is weird because of how many hours you work, but holy crap, man.
You're awake for 22 hours a day, right? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, I guess if you do it that way.
I still don't think he might get one of those shelves,
right?
One part of one of the shelves,
and we'll lose half of our subscribers because they're all just kind of waiting and watching for that whole thing to just come crashing down. So once that happens, they're going to unsubscribe.
And if EP were sitting back a little farther, it would add an extra element of danger to our videos. Right. So it would be pretty great. Yeah. All right, EP Joe.
This week.
Second thing you'd change.
So I have probably combined out of the 40-ish Tom Brady rookie cards, I've owned at certain points probably 75% of them, right? Not including like the parallels and things like that or the inserts, but the straight up just rookie cards. If I was going to go back in time, I would not have spent so much money on the lower end stuff. It felt like every time I saw a Brady rookie come up for auction, I'd be like, oh, I got to buy it. I got to buy it. So
I remember those times.
I'm buying, like buying the pros and prospects. That's cool. It's a great card. Buying metal, that's one of my favorites. Buying this one, buying that one. Sure. But buying like Fleer Tradition, Dominion, Impact, like those cards that just, and luckily I wasn't too far underwater when I went to sell or trade them to move up with my Brady collection. But still, it was like, if I would have just saved the money and then just bought a good card. Like, so I guess it comes down to have a little bit more willpower, which I think we can all agree card collectors do not.
That's a hobby issue.
That's a hobby issue, right? So to have that willpower to say, I don't need to spend $250 on a Fleer Tradition SGC 9 Brady card because it's a low-end Brady card, probably not going to hold a ton of value. Take that $250, bank it, and then 3-4 months down the road, maybe there's a $1,000 Brady card that I like instead of buying these little ones here and there. And that was a big issue with my collecting from the jump. And I'm okay from it. Like I didn't mortgage the house, but it's still that whole thought process of what could I have gotten if I had just waited.
Right. Like the hobby, people in the hobby have hobby money versus real money. And
right.
like you want to put that money to the best use possible.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I agree 100%. Like there are probably a lot of people that are watching like, yeah, you're right about that. I should have done that too. Some very similar thing. I don't buy a ton of singles. And so I've kind of been that's not really my kind of thing, but also I've spent way too much on boxes, and the same thing where like boxes that maybe I wouldn't have really purchased for that amount of money too. So yeah, it's that's a good call, Joe. I like that.
You could have had a playoff contenders.
I could have, I guess. I could have maybe earlier. Maybe earlier. Yeah.
All right, EP. Your second thing you do differently.
My second thing, I would have encouraged us and or maybe been more available to start doing this earlier, like to start doing our channel earlier, just because I remember that part of us getting started was me finding time to be able to do it. But now that we've figured out, the recording time and the way we do it, I'd have so much fun doing it every week. and sitting down, shooting the breeze with two of my best friends in the world, talking about
Aw.
cards, talking about all this sort of stuff.
Who's he
And
talking
so I mean, like I really enjoy it. I wish we might have started a little bit sooner, just because it would have been a few more weeks of us doing stupid friend stuff, talking about cards, just talking about stupid pieces of cardboard with athletes on them. You know,
But keep in mind, if we would have done that, we would not have been able to say way back in episode 1 because the timing would have been wrong.
that's true.
Right.
That's
So
true. We would have lost.
things went about
Right.
at the pace they were supposed to, because if we would not have had episode 1 about what it was about, we couldn't reference it, and
That's
we
true.
would not have grown like we have today.
And saying episode 27 wouldn't have had the same
Would not have had the same
juice, right?
pizzazz, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the CP because hand to God, I was going to do this as an honorable mention. And I was actually thinking when Mike, we were talking this morning and you're like, I still need one more thing. I almost mentioned this to you as maybe this is the one, as you know, Mike's retro, maybe this is the one you mentioned as well. But yeah, I'm glad you did EP because we were kind of waiting on you a little bit. And then we finally were able to get going. But I'm
Story
with
of
Mike.
our life.
Yeah, always waiting on EP.
Always
Freaking
waiting
EP.
on EP.
But the trajectory of the channel has gone. I'm pleased with it. Would we have a few extra subscribers? Probably, but
No,
So-
I'm just for a few extra weeks of us talking,
Yeah.
being idiots on the talking to each other on Zoom
We-
or on like
We
whatever.
may have had less subscribers.
that's
true.
fair. That's fair. Yeah.
All right. Well, EP, you kind of referenced this in Joe's about my number 2 is I wish I wouldn't have bought some of the wax I did back when I got back into this, because, I had a huge collection of cards. I went through it, huge PSA orders. I had some really good Tom Brady rookie cards I sold at the peak. I had a lot of other stuff I sold at the peak. And, all of a sudden I had this account with card money in it with quite a bit of money. And it's easy to get yourself to go, oh, I can buy that $400 box or that $500 because I have all this money here. And yeah, I was able to do it. Thankful that it wasn't my own personal money. This
Right.
was card money that I put into it. But, knowing how I feel now about ripping wax and stuff and knowing how bad of an idea it is, I really wish I would have just left that money in the account and did other stuff with it. So yeah, that is my number 2 and a very big thing I wish I could go back and change. So
Yeah, I got somewhat lucky that I didn't get too into the wax thing. I always was looking at singles and things like that. But every time I open up wax, especially sports cards, I felt ill afterwards. I'm like, why did I just waste this money? $30, $40, $50. I think I bought a box of Leaf Pro Set Metal. I think you and I each bought a box of that. I put it on the channel. It was like, what, $150? So again, not a terrible sum of money. We bought boxes of Legacy, Mike. Do you remember that?
Legacy.
You and I had a Legacy box battle. It was one of our first videos on the channel.
I bought Prism
watch
Draft Picks football. I bought
As did I, yeah.
Absolute Basketball. I think was the first one I bought, like right from Panini. Yeah.
Yep.
Got it.
I bought like four blasters going for, was it Kabooms or an Absolute? I believe I was going for a Kaboom. And it's just such a losing battle, and we all know it. But again, it's one of those things with the hobby, like you said about grading EP. It's just, you just don't know any better.
Speaking of blasters and bad decisions, Mike, there was a stretch where both of us got Target allows us to buy 10 blasters of Sage football and 10 blasters of Bowman baseball. So why not get all 10? Why not fill up the whole box when they ship it to us? It's free shipping. Let's do it. We both made that decision that back in.
I may have had multiple accounts at Target, so I could order 3 and have one shipped to my business, one shipped to my
That
mom.
was the
and one
joke,
shipped
though.
home.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the joke.
I need
I
all
need-
the accounts.
Yeah, for sure.
I should really do like a video series about ripping retail and seeing if you can make a profit out of it.
That's a good idea.
Depending on when this one comes out, maybe you already have. So
Yeah, I already
check
have.
videos.
Check the
All
channel.
right.
Updates.
The channel. Yeah.
All right,
Oh,
Joe. Your final thing you wish you did different.
All right. So this is not shocking. I don't think to anyone who's been watching the channel the last few months, but I'm so upset that when we first got into this, I didn't do a better job of looking at what was available in non-sports, specifically Star Trek cards. I collect, Mike, you know this from the shop. If you got Star Trek cards and I opened them, I would open up, and they were few and far between because there weren't a ton of sets. Skybox was the only one making Star Trek cards. So, you'd get them in. I was probably the only one buying them, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But like, I love Star Trek. I got back into Star Trek because of the new shows that had come out, Strange New Worlds, Picard, Lower Decks, and things like that. I'm really bummed out that I don't know why something didn't click in my brain as I was buying like old boxes of Star Trek cards, as I was watching Star Trek content. Why something didn't click in my brain saying, I wonder if they make Star Trek cards now. I don't know why. Like, I had these blinders on that I was just didn't even think about it. And a lot of the cards that I'm trying to get now, if you look at the prices back then, it's like the boom hit Star Trek cards now. If you go back to when the boom was, they were still super affordable. And it's just like, and you could say this about like Marvel cards. The boom definitely hit Marvel cards later than sports cards, but it definitely hit. So they would have been more expensive. But I feel the same way about Marvel cards. I was here buying old Marvel products from the 90s. And I didn't think to myself, maybe I should see if like Fleer Ultra makes current Marvel. That light didn't really go off, which is maybe just because we're a retro channel. We like to talk about things from the 90s. I didn't really think, oh, maybe there's ultra modern stuff that's actually pretty cool. It's not all Panini crap, right? Like maybe I should go and buy some cool Marvel cards or cool Star Trek cards. So that one really, that's number one with a bullet for me. Not just having the wherewithal to think maybe they have Star Trek cards out nowadays.
The blinders comment. Go ahead, Mike.
I would have definitely bet $1,000 that you were going to say, I wish I would have gotten more Star Trek cards. Yeah, that is on brand 100%.
Yeah.
Go ahead, EP.
I love the blinders comment because I feel like in the hobby, there's a lot of people like that. That's the issue, right? If you can take the blinders off, that's how you can see where the next thing is going to be. The next cool thing, like the PMGs that went crazy, like the 90s inserts or whatever. Like being able to take those blinders off is an important thing, but so much of us can't do that because we get stuck in the moment. We get stuck in the fear of missing out. There's so many things happening at all times everywhere that you're always looking at those things instead of being able to take the blinders off and say, hey, look, why don't I look for this thing or this thing? And that's I love that. That's a perfect analogy, I think.
And I forget if I mentioned it when we did an interview with Steve Cherrendoff from Rittenhouse. Go check that one out if you haven't yet. But the only reason I got into Star Trek cards then was because I had on my saved eBay list where you get the notifications, Doctor Strange sketch card. Well, luckily, Rittenhouse had Strange New Worlds. They had a sketch card of Dr. Mbenga from one of the main characters, Doctor Strange sketch. I mean, if I hadn't seen, I'm like, wait a minute, are there Star Trek cards? And that's how I got into it. That's how crazy. I don't know if I would have gotten into it had I not had that Doctor Strange sketch card eBay save search. Kind of wild.
Meant to be. It was meant to be.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, AP, what is the last thing you would have changed?
This is kind of a weird one for me. Like, I'm not sure. Setting up at a card show for earlier. Like, I wish I had done it earlier. Like, none of us on this panel are afraid to say that we flip cards, we sell cards to fund our PCs, to fund our hobby. Like, the bottom line is the market's built in. If you're not using it, you should be using it. And I have had so much fun at every card show that I've set up at, even if I'm not making a ton of money. If I'm making my table fees back, I'm happy with that. But I've had so much fun interacting with the people. And Mike shows up at pretty much every one of my shows, and like it's a fun Saturday of talking about cards, showing off cards, selling cards, all that sort of stuff. And I wish I had done it sooner. I'm not even talking about getting back into it now. I'm talking even in like 2012 or way back when. Like, I wish I had done it sooner, just because it is such a fun experience back in 2012.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah,
you do enjoy it, and I could definitely see you having done that. You enjoy it, you like it, and it's a lot of work for you, especially like there's a show when we're recording this Saturday, and you work to all hours of the night on Friday. So it's not easy for you to get done at work at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and be at the card show. But you are entertaining when you don't get any sleep. So
I had the joy of setting up with EP at his table, and I saw the handshaking.
I know.
I saw at one point he's just like staring, and I'm like, what's going on? And it's definitely entertaining for sure.
Yeah. All right, I'll wrap this up here. It's kind of funny because EP, you said it. And Joe, you said you were going to recommend it for me, but on my own, I decided that I wish I would have started this YouTube channel right away when I got back into cards. I'm going to go with this, even though EP and ours are similar. Mine's a little more specific because I feel like we would have grown a little more of the channel if we would have started a year earlier, but I had that gigantic inventory of cards that were sitting there since I closed my shop in 2004. And here it is, 2021. And I went through every card in every single box and found a lot of stuff. But wow, that would have been fantastic content. People would have loved that. Just the title, like, I'm going through a card collection that hasn't been touched in 17 years. Like that was legitimately my stuff, my leftover shop inventory. And even though I sold off a lot of stuff at the end, there were all kinds of valuable cards that were still in the boxes. All the Tom Brady rookies. Like it would have been fun to just document all of that and cut in the really good stuff to show people what was in there and my reactions to pulling stuff out. When I was looking through like the stuff where Tom Brady was, like the Bowman Chrome, I was like slow rolling the cards like like just to myself because like I'm okay, these were numbered and I'm like, is Brady there? And I'm like, oh, there's Brady there. So it would have been great content. And I really wish I could turn back the clock and just have all of that documented, because even if nobody watched it, I think it would be cool to have that content to be able to look at every now and then and go, wow, because that was a great time. I enjoy the hobby. I enjoy doing this stuff, but there was nothing quite like going through my own stuff after that long a period of time and finding all the treasures I found. It was just so much fun.
Yeah, I remember when I went to my grandparents' house to grab the stuff out of their storage room to go through. And I remember you mentioning, oh, you should record that. And I'm like, it's not going to be anywhere near as good as what you had. Like, because I just didn't have that much stuff. I had, a trunk's worth of stuff. You have a garage worth of stuff, or you still do. But that's a really good point. And you see, like, I watch Very Gary Comics, watching him go through collections, Chris Sewell going through collections. It's very, very entertaining. Could have been really fun, like 15 to 20 minute videos and focus maybe on a year or set or whatever. And yeah, it's a shame you didn't go through that, because again, I think that's something people would watch like I do. That's background noise. I love doing, if I'm sorting cards, throw something like that up on the TV.
Yeah, I love this. I feel like some of those videos maybe like we would have watched, or the three of us would have watched 10 times over. Just I want to watch that one again. Just because the people from the shop that watch the channel too, they would have been like, oh my gosh, I remember 2000 when the we were all chasing Chad Pennington, so that's why the Brady's in the 5,000 count box, right? So I mean, like, and then Mike going through every 5,000 count box as it was like a break to go through,
right?
And then do slow rolling. Like, that'd be amazing. That'd be such amazing content.
And I did. I'm not exaggerating. I slow rolled a lot of that stuff because most of my 2000 stuff was in order. So like I would pick out that part that had the Brady, and I just it was crazy. You also would have enjoyed the videos of me trying to move around all the 5,000.
Set up a tripod
in a very small space where I had to like move them here in this pile and then take that pile and invert it and put it over here. And...
a very small space within a surprising number of cards stacked into that space. Like it was it's an amazing thing to see.
I took pictures of it leaning and Also had a lot of people on social media tell me how all the cards are ruined because they were, stored in like a garage or something. I
Yeah,
was
how are
like,
those PSA 10s doing that you
okay,
got out of it?
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
and
Also,
even when I tell them no, that's not it, they still kept arguing with me.
They all turned yellow because of the smoke
they're
in that
ruined. I'm like,
garage.
okay.
Oh, sorry. Wait.
Wait. Yeah,
Whatever.
that's a different thing. Wait a minute. You're telling me that people on social media got something wrong? I am shocked.
I know. It's
Shocked, I
amazing.
say.
All right. Well, if you guys would have done something different when you got back in the hobby, let us know. We always like to hear from you. Nobody else in the world wants to talk to you about cards, but we will.
We will. Absolutely. And we'll even
100%.
respond to your comments. Unlike,
We
well,
will.
most of us will. No
Well,
offense.
he won't. Yeah, but
Mike and
no.
I will definitely respond to your
Absolutely.
comments.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
You are. That's all we can ask you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That was a lot of fun. I'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
See ya.
See you, boys.